Creep night, sure to send a chill down your spine. Welcome to Creep Night. In tonight's episode, we delve into a mysterious mist that has enveloped a house. Is it mere coincidence? Or are there deeper, more sinister forces at play? Join us as we navigate through the fog of uncertainty, examining the various perspectives surrounding the enigmatic phenomenon. As the clock struck 11 p.m. on a chilly Tuesday night, Jeremiah settled into his cozy home office, eager to begin recording his weekly podcast, Terrific Tuesday. Known for his infectious energy and vibrant personality, Jeremiah had made a tradition to open each episode with a delightful blend of singing and dancing, setting the tone for the entertaining and light-hearted content that would soon follow. With his headphones securely in place and his microphones perfectly positioned, Jeremiah greeted his virtual audience with a warm smile and an enthusiastic "Hello, everyone." The soft glow of his desk lamp illuminated his face, casting a gentle light on the books and the trinkets that adorned his shelves. In the background, the faint sounds of crickets chirping mingled with a gentle hum of the air conditioner, creating a peaceful and inviting atmosphere. Jeremiah's fingers danced across the keyboard as he navigated his podcast software, ensuring that everything was in order for the recording. As the introduction music faded out, Jeremiah launched into his signature dance moves, swaying his hips and tapping his feet to the rhythm. His laughter filled the room as he playfully interacted with his audience, inviting them to join in on the fun. With his energy reaching its peak, Jeremiah transitioned into the main segment of his podcast, where he shared his thoughts and experiences on various topics, whether it was discussing the latest trend in technology, delving into personal anecdotes, or offering advice to his listeners. Jeremiah's passion and enthusiasm shone through in every word he spoke. Throughout the recording, Jeremiah maintained a steady flow of conversation, seamlessly weaving together humor, storytelling, and meaningful insights. He engaged with his audience, responding to their comments and messages in real time, creating a sense of community and connection. As the hands neared the bewitching hour of midnight, Jeremiah, the charismatic host of the renowned podcast Terrific Tuesday, concluded his latest episode with a flourish, his voice a blend of warmth and charisma, reverberating through the virtual airwaves, expressing his heartfelt gratitude to his devoters and listeners with a grace wave of his hand and a radiant smile that illuminated his features. Jeremiah bid a farewell to his loyal companions, leaving them with a profound sense of joy and eager anticipation for the treasures that the next episode would unfold. However, unbeknownst to Jeremiah, a sinister force was stirring in the shadows, patiently biding its time, waiting for the opportunity to strike like a cunning predator, stalking its unsuspecting prey. This malevolent entity plotted its devastating assault, unaware of the imminent peril that loomed over Jeremiah's unsuspecting existence. The night was still, and the air carried a palpable sense of unease, as Jeremiah, oblivious to the impending danger, retreated to his private chambers. As he settled into the comfort of his workspace, a sense of unease began to creep into his consciousness. The familiar surroundings seemed subtly altered, and an inexplicable chill ran down his spine. Little did Jeremiah know that his insidious force he had inadvertently awakened had already infiltrated his sanctuary, casting an enormous shadow over his life. As darkness enveloped, the once familiar shadows seemed to wither and contort, taking on a menacing form that danced in the eerie moonlight. Trapped within the confines of his own home, Jeremiah found himself ensnared in a terrifying game of cat and mouse with the unseen, malevolent entity. The walls seemed to close in on him, and the air thickened with a palpable sense of dread. As the night wore on, Jeremiah's heart began to pound in his chest. His breathing became in shallow gasps as he desperately sought a way to escape the clutches of the unseen menace that relentlessly pursued him. Caught in the haunting realm of the unseen, Jeremiah whirled in relentless circles, desperate to grasp the intangible form of the malevolent force that relentlessly pursued him. Despite the absence of the figure, he could sense its presence, its eyes like chilly, icy shards piercing into his very soul, binding him in a snare of fear and dread. The unseen entity seemed to toy with him, its intangible essence mocking his futile attempts to comprehend its nature. Jeremiah's heart pounded in his chest, his breathing rapid and shallowed as he frantically searched for an escape, a way to break free from the invisible prison that was slowly enclosing in on him. The air grew heavy and oppressive, clinging to him like a suffocating embrace. It was as though the very atmosphere was conspiring against him, denying him the nourishment of fresh oxygen. His breath came in short, labored gasps of his lungs were being crushed by an invisible force. The fog seemed to press in on him from all sides, a tangible manifestation of his mountain anxiety. It felt as if a giant snake had wrapped itself around his chest and began squeezing tighter and tighter with each passing moment, demanding submission. His heart throbbed in his chest, a frantic rhythm echoing in his ears. Panic clawed at his mind, threatening to overwhelm him. He fought against the suffocating sensation depriving him, trying to draw in a single life-giving breath, but the fog seemed to taunt him, mocking him in his futile attempts. With trembling hands, he reached out, grasping at the emptiness that surrounded him. The fog twirled and danced along his fingers, engulfing his grasp. Like a phantom, he stumbled blindly, lost and disoriented as the fog consumed him, threatening to swallow him up whole. In the realm of perception, where reality and illusion intertwined, a profound moment unfolded. Time seemed to have relinquished its relentless march, yielding to a timeless void. An unsettling sense of external doubt enveloped him. Was he truly present in this tangible world, or was existence slipping away like grains of sand through his fingers. The boundaries between reality and imagination blurred, leaving him stranded in an uncertain limbo. And he stood there, suspended in a surreal stillness. He grappled with the unsettling realization that the very fabric of his existence was being called into question. A profound contemplation of the natural, of reality, and the fleeting nature of his existence consumed his thoughts, leaving him adrift in a sea of uncertainty. Jeremiah remained rooted to the spot, unable to move. His eyes filtered across the images that raced by him, memories of the past flickering like rapid changing television channels. Each scene was a glimpse into the time that had passed, a moment that shaped him into the person he had become. There were images of his childhood, of playing with friends and exploring the world around him. There were moments of joy and laughter, of triumphs and failures. And there were also memories of pain and sorrow, loss and regret. As the memories flashed by, Jeremiah felt a wave of nostalgia wash over him. He longed to reach out and touch those memories, to relive them and hold them forever. But he knew that was impossible. The past was gone, and all he could do was watch as it faded away into the distance. A sense of sadness filled Jeremiah's heart as he realized that he would never be able to experience those moments again. But he also knew that the memories would always be with him, a part of him that would carry with him wherever he went. And so he stood there, watching the past fade away, grateful for the memories that had made him who he was. As he stood there, a strange and eerie sensation washed over him. It began as a gentle tremor, a subtle vibration that seemed to originate from the depths of his being. Gradually, the intensity of the vibration increased, enveloping his whole body. It was a mysterious embrace. It was as if an invisible force was drawing him deeper and deeper into a surrounding darkness, beckoning him to explore the uncharted territories that lay beyond the realm of sight. The vibration pulsed and surged through his veins, resonating with every fiber of his existence. It was particularly an unsettling experience, unlike anything he had ever encountered before. He felt himself being pulled. It was as if the very essence of his being was being drawn towards something unknown and unknowledgeable. As the vibration grew stronger, he felt a strange mix of fear and fascination course through him. A part of him wanted to resist, to break free from the irresistible pull that seemed to be dragging him into the abyss. A mist, a shroud of darkness. Jeremiah's heart pounded like a drum in his chest. He had awoken to an eerie silence, and the unsettling feeling of being watched sent shivers down his spine. As he stood there, a sense of dread began to gnaw at him, amplifying the shadows that seemed to dance on the walls. Gathering his courage, Jeremiah listened as his breath caught in his throat. As he listened intently for any sound that might break the suffocating quiet, his eyes, accustomed to the dimness of his room, struggled to penetrate the inky blackness that enveloped him. With trembling hands, he reached out to the lamp side, desperate to banish the darkness that cloaked his surroundings. But his fingers fumbled with the switch. A sudden noise from the other side of the room froze him in his place. It was a faint creaking sound, as if something heavy was being shifted. Adrenaline coursed through Jeremiah's veins. His senses heightened. Every creak and groan of the old house seemed to amplify. His imagination conjured up terrifying scenarios, his heart pounding in his chest, threatening to burst through the ribs. Slowly, he turned his head toward the source of the noise. His eyes widened, scanning the room. He could not make out the vague shapes and shadows, but nothing concrete. Fear gnawed at him, whispering tales of monsters and malevolent entities lurking in the darkness. Determined to face his fears, Jeremiah took a deep, shaky breath and forced himself to move with each step. His fear grew. The darkness seemed to close in on him, his mind racing through rationalizations, the noises. But his images betrayed him, painting horrific pictures that made his blood run cold. As he approached the source of the sound, Jeremiah's heart pounded so loudly he could hear it in his ears. He could feel the sweat tinkling down his face, his body slick with fear. Just as he was about to confront whatever lay in the darkness, in the eerie silence of his dimly lit study, Jeremiah's heart pounded in his chest as he reached for the antique brass lamp on his phonography desk. With trembling fingers, he flickered the switch, bathing the room in a light golden glow. As he turned around, his blood ran cold as his eyes beheld a sight that would haunt him forever. In the corner of the room, lurking in the shadows, was a monstrous echid of unimaginable proportions. Its 8 eyes, each a gleaming manifested orb, stared at him with an intelligence that sent shivers down his spine. The creature's hairy legs, as thick as tree trunks, twitched and quivered with anticipation, its fangs glistening ominously. Jeremiah let out a blood-curdling scream, his voice echoing throughout the house. He stumbled backwards, his legs giving way beneath him as he collapsed to the floor. In sheer terror, the giant spider advanced slowly, its movements deliberate and predatory. Its 8 eyes seemed to bore into his very existence, reading his every thought and emotion. Jeremiah knew he was no match for this monstrous creature before him. His mind raced, searching for every way to escape, but every avenue seemed to block. The spider's web spun and uncannily, intraceably, surrounding him like an inescapable trap. As the spider drew closer, its mandibles clicking and its legs scuffling across the floor, Jeremiah closed his eyes, bracing himself for the inevitable. But instead of a painful bite, he felt a gentle touch on his head. He opened his eyes cautiously, and to his astonishment, he saw that the giant spider was not there. He stood up, his heart still pounding, and looking around the room. There was no sign of the spider, no trace of its presence. It was as if it had never been there at all. Was it a hallucination? A nightmare come to life? Jeremiah could not be sure. He wondered if it had been the fog all this time that maybe played a mind game, making him believe that he'd seen a huge spider ready to devour him. I guess we'll never really know. Thank you for listening to Creep Night. Remember, the next time you see fog, you might just run into an old friend. An eight-legged friend.